Welcome back to Tarks Gauntlet, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't be your incompetent host if I wasn't playing Yakuza in anything but the right order. I jumped into the series at 6, moved on to Kiwami 1, I'm now hitting 0 in preparation for Kiwami 2. And it's the PlayStation Hits version. This case gets a solid Yakuza 0 out of 10. First releasing in 2015 in Japan for the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, Yakuza 0 didn't see the light of day in the rest of the world until early 2017 and mid-2018 for PC players. This game serves as the new de facto entry point in the Yakuza series and fills the role of a prequel immaculately. The game starts with our young and somewhat immature Kiryu Kazuma. While he's not exactly the character we've come to know and love, we get to see firsthand over the course of the game how he becomes the man we know today. Though I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. The story begins with Kiryu on a rather routine collection job for a loan shark. At the end of the job, he leaves the man broke and bloodied in an empty lot. A short while later, it comes to light through a news program that the man was found dead where Kiryu left him. While he originally feels that perhaps he done more damage than he anticipated, it's disclosed to Kiryu that the man actually died from a gunshot wound. Having not been in possession of a gun himself, it's clear at this point that Kiryu is not to blame, and that he may indeed be being set up. The question, however, is why and by whom? Throughout the rest of the game, Kiryu goes to great lengths to clear his name, and to shape and protect the ideals he, as a young man, are growing to understand. Unlike the other Yakuza games I, the self-admitted noob to the series, have played, this game has you playing as more than one character. This time around, we get an origin story of sorts for Goro Majima. Though I came to love his character in Kiwami 1, the events of this prequel do wonders to make him a more sympathetic character and shape him out to be a complicated and flawed, yet tragically understandable soul. He also has one of the most badass introductions I've ever seen.
どうや、神様からのお恵みは。ありがとうございます。私はこの酒を一度浴びるように飲んでみたかったのですが、おかげさまで夢が叶いました。
Goro Majima, like Kiryu, has a complicated history with the Yakuza. As it stands at the start of the game, Goro is not a member of any family, though he still pays favor to one in hopes to regain entry into a family someday. Goro has a romanticized and glorified image of what the Yakuza life is, and wants nothing more than to be a part of it. By giving the profits of the club he runs to his Yakuza contact, he is assured his contact will uphold his end of the bargain and fulfill Goro's dreams. However, this contact does nothing but string him along and raise the stakes every time he gets too close. But one day he gives him a quicker and supposedly easier way in. This quick road to the top, back into the family, is a hit job. But Goro has never gone down the path of murder before, and this weighs heavily on his ideals and conscience. Still, he entertains the idea. That is, until he finds out his target is not at all who he believed it to be, and he finds himself caught up in a mystery as to why this character is so important and why they're wanted dead. From here, Kiryu and Goro's storylines begin affecting each other heavily, though they work more as subplots to each other, with neither one really containing the full story at any point in time. I have no intent on spoiling the story, but to sum up the rest of it in the worst way possible, two able-bodied dudes get in over their head on a real estate deal that's larger than they could possibly imagine. Real estate isn't free, folks, no matter what anybody tells you.
It's free real estate.
Really, like all other Yakuza games I've played, this one too has a beautiful, intense, and character-focused story. Right from the first chapter of the game, the dialogue feels weighted. I found myself holding my breath as I listened in, intently, on everything that was going on. The characters themselves really solidify their place in the world and justify their personality traits and relationships. And of course, with excellent character chemistry and properly weighted dialogue and relationships, comes the inevitable heartbreak and show-stopping drama. It's hard to ask more from a game in terms of its story, though I will say this story itself may not be quite as long as it seems, as much of the first 7 chapters is filled with mandatory tutorials and events that serve only to set up optional side content. Once that fat is trimmed and you're left with nothing but the main plot is maybe 25 hours. As is typical with Yakuza games, however, you will more than double the story's runtime with optional content alone, and the optional content in this one far surpasses the already amazing quantity and quality I experienced in the other games. First off, you have the sub-stories. Yakuza 0 is split between two characters, and each character begins in their own city. Each city has tons of NPCs scattered throughout that you can interact and be taken on well-written mini-adventures with. These are called sub-stories, and this is where most of the heart and charm for these games' locations comes from. A lot of these stories are quite serious and heartwarming, and vary in terms of their complexity. But to give an example of a simple one that really left an impression on me, in Goro's campaign you find a girl ogling over a doll inside of a UFO catcher machine. As you get dolls for this girl, she tells you more and more about her home life, how it's just her and her mother isn't financially well off enough to get her simple cheap things like the dolls. The girl also has a rather flawed but charming understanding of what a father is supposed to be, and so she places Goro in a paternal position to herself. Though Goro is initially hesitant, he doesn't have it in his heart to see her upset, so he allows the girl to have things her way. Despite not having an actual familial relationship, Goro becomes comfortable with the idea of being a family man. This simple premise for an optional quest not only gives you new NPCs with history to learn about and love, but it shapes Goro as a character and helps you better understand his motivations as a character. This is how good character building and optional content is done. Of course, not all optional content is serious, and it doesn't have to be. It is okay to just have fun, and Yakuza 0 offers simple fun in spades. Many sub-stories will have you engaging in the game's various mini-games, such as the disco dancing you can do alongside Miracle Johnson, aka Michael Jackson. However, you can trigger most of these mini-games at any time you see fit, simply by exploring the world. The game offers tons of little time wasters, like bowling, darts, pool, classic arcade games, baseball, jacking off to softcore films and making friends over it, card collecting, catfighting, karaoke, and tons more. But there are also two new massive mini-games included that can fill hours upon hours of time. For Kiryu, this oxymoronic mega minigame is called Real Estate Royale, where you go around town buying up properties and hiring townsfolk to manage and protect them for you. Most of this game is done through menus. With clever investing, you'll open up a lot of new quests and prizes along the way. Of course, the best part of this is buying the bowling alley, scoring a turkey, winning a chicken, naming him Nugget, and then employing him to be a property manager. But that's not exactly the end goal of the mode, though maybe it should be. The end goal is more or less scoring a monopoly and taking on the 5 other greedy fat cats who own all of the real estate in the city, known as the 5 billionaires. Goro, on the other hand, has his own oxymoronic mega minigame called Cabaret Club. Though this mode bears similarities to the hiring and property management seen in Real Estate Royale, the actual crux of it is a lot less passive. You run a cabaret club and must hire women to entertain your guests. As men come into the club, you must read their likes and dislikes and pair them up with a woman that best matches them. As time goes on, you'll be watching as stat meters change and responding in sympathy to the changes to maximize your profit output. In many ways, this works like a clicker with more depth. That said, I can't deny that, at least at first, I wasn't exactly a fan of this, finding it to be only as fun as the cutscenes that came along with it. But after messing around with the makeover option, and investing a bit of time into my star girl, I found I had more of a vested interest in the outcome of the mode. While it's still not 100% my thing, there's definitely a lot on offer here, and my lukewarm response to it seems to be a bit of a minority reaction. Like with Real Estate Royale and the 5 billionaires, you're in competition against 5 other cabaret owners known as the 5 stars, and the end goal is the same. Both of these mega minigames pour money directly into your pockets, and though it seems like a lot of money at first because it far outweighs what you'd need to spend in stores for consumables and the likes, this comes in great handy as your stat progression is almost entirely done through monetary transactions. Now, I think I might have structured this video a little funny, because I've made it this far in and we haven't touched on the combat yet. So let's get into it and hopefully make it kinda quick. Combat, like always, oozes style. Like everything in Yakuza. And I mean everything, just look at this intro. Doesn't this just get you friggin' pumped? But I digress. Combat is a stylish yet also refined approach to the old brawler genre, mixed with modern mechanics and an RPG-style progression system. I've covered this a few times in the other reviews, so if this sounds familiar, I apologize, but here's the Cliff Notes version. Each playable character has 3 mandatory battle styles. What style will work best will depend on the enemy types you're fighting. Kiryu's battle styles consist of the Brawler style, the most balanced of the three, that is only special in the fact that it is balanced, the Rush style, which favors speed above all at the cost of damage, defense, and weapon use abilities, and the Beast mode, which favors defense, damage, and weapon usage above all at the cost of speed and dodging capabilities. Majima's three mandatory fighting styles work similar, yet feel unique in execution. His first style is known as the Thug style. This is his most balanced fighting style, that favors balance similar to Kiryu's brawler style, but uses cheap tricks to get the leg up on your enemies. He also has the Slugger style, which, as you can tell, is nearly equally as dirty as the Thug style, as Slugger style is built completely around bringing a bat into battle. Defense for this style is more useful than any other, and the power of your attacks is very high, though your combat abilities are limited, as you cannot grapple your enemies or pick up other weapons while using this mode. And last you have the Breaker style, which is similar to Kiryu's Rush mode, as it favors speed above all else. But Breaker style seems to put a focus on your ability to trip your enemies in droves. Defense takes a hit of course, but only if the enemies can get to you before you can take them down. Really, all of these styles are immensely useful given the right situation, but Breaker style probably seen the least usage from me, as I'm somebody who typically goes for more calculated, directed, slower attacks. For reference, this is how I play Monster Hunter, and I do this by choice. Combat uses a mix of comboed light and heavy attacks, as well as grapples, dodges, and blocks, though controls offer very little more than that. What keeps combat alive and fresh is your ability to use nearly everything as a weapon and your heat actions. As you charge these 3 meters below your health up here, heat actions will present themselves to you, which come in the form of brutal and visceral stylish takedowns. Combat also stays fresh of course by leveling up your combat abilities as you progress, which you can do on these charts here. You can also further level your combat abilities by visiting the various combat trainers throughout the city. As you complete various things in the game, you will score something called completion points, and these can be exchanged as well to upgrade your stats and unlock special functions and perks. And that's the Cliff Notes version of the combat. The only thing left to hit on is the technical aspects of the game and my closing thoughts, so let's just jump right into it. On a technical level, this game looks and runs great, though pop-in is still really rough on NPC textures and certain environment objects, and the subtitle font during pre-rendered cutscenes is blown up to be bigger than it should, making it noticeably blurry. The soundtrack is really well done as well, though some tunes sound a little too much like they belong in anti-drug PSAs or something. Given that the time period of this game is set in the 80s and all, this may be the point, but other games also had music like this, so I have my doubts.
For 2 years, I thought it was normal for a 10-year-old to wet the bed, but the solution was there all the time.
I'm not afraid anymore!
Sound effects are still mostly great, though some sound effects like certain doors still sound strangely dated. Voiceovers again, like the others, are Japanese only, but are absolutely outstanding, as is the translation. The menus and interface is excellent, but in some areas it does leave a little bit to be desired. For instance, when leveling up your combat abilities, you cannot switch between the charts with the L and R buttons. You have to back out of the chart to open the next one. There are times in the game where it pays homage to other games in ways that I wish it didn't. I didn't particularly like this fight against 100 sword users out back of Serena when I done it in Kiwami 1, and I'm not too fond of doing it again here. But I can look the other way, especially where this game sets up sub-stories that later entries revisit to create a sort of series-long continuity among the NPCs. Like this cult leader seen here in Yakuza 6, and here again as a younger man in Yakuza 0. Overall, this is yet another fantastic Yakuza game. In terms of its side content and variety in gameplay, I'd say this is the best I'd played yet. Though my favorite story may still be in 6, simply because that one crushed me the hardest. Though this one definitely brings the feels on hard as well, but it brings all the feels as each game has so far. The sadness, the charm, the laughs. Yakuza 0 is an absolutely complete package. Though the story in the first 7 chapters is a bit bloated, with mandatory explanations for optional things, the story itself is absolutely phenomenal, and I'm willing to even look past the bloat as it pushes you towards doing things that you should be doing anyway, whether they're optional or not. I was really impressed with the title, and more than happy to see these young, emotive, reckless, and immature characters grow into the characters I know them as today. Another excellent Yakuza game done, in time for Kiwami 2. And Kiwami 2 is a remake of the game Polygon said was the worst mainline entry in the series. So join me next time when we hopefully find out how wrong they are, or we discover that even the worst of the series is still a fantastic game. Either way, my hopes are very high. So that's all from me today, folks. If you guys liked the video, found it useful at all, leave a like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you can. Links to socials are in the description, and as always, folks, thanks for watching.